Welcome to the Chamber of Schenectady County's Business Advocacy Council with George Amedore, who is a candidate for the 46th State Senate District. I'm Jack Aernecke, and I'm pleased to be your host today. The Chamber's Business Advocacy Council is bipartisan and issue-focused. Today we'll be talking about issues that affect businesses in Schenectady County and around the capital region. George, thank you very much for joining me today.
Jack, great to be with you.
Businesses have to rely a great deal on education. They need an educated workforce so that they're competitive locally, nationally, and globally. To start off with, where does education sit in your list of priorities?
Well, it has to be a top priority for anyone who's running for office or who holds an office in the state legislature or any elected position. Without an educated workforce, what do we really have? Myself, being in business, understand that my employees constantly being trained, educated to the degree of what task and objective they have to perform. And in the state of New York, what I have found being a business owner is, I think we've failed multiple years in educating our young children, in having them be able to really dream and get them involved in more vocational education experiences. And it's pretty evident, because when you go and they graduate high school, they go off to college. Many students are not prepared for college careers. There's remediation that they have to catch up with. There is this lack of understanding, well, I don't know what I want to really do or be. You know, before, years ago, we used to be, I want to be a police officer, I want to be a fireman, I want to do what my dad used to do. We have students today who are just still trying to find their way. And I think in the educational system, the state of New York needs to fund it properly, our public schools. Mm-hmm. And there's no question, Jack, that I will be one of the biggest advocates for public schools in the state of New York. It's unfortunate that we've had the gap elimination adjustment from 2009 to 10 that literally has stripped about $99 million out of the 5 county school districts that the 46th Senate District comprises of. And that's really hurt educators, our children, and it has put a huge burden on our property tax payers. So we need to do a whole lot better than what we're doing. We have a Common Core curriculum that many parents throughout the 46th Senate District or state of New York are very concerned about. Students are frustrated. Teachers who hold master degrees do not have the ability to really do what they are called to do and they're educated to do. And that's teach to the ability of that student and inspire and bring about the learning techniques that our young students, our future in the state of New York, preparing them for career and for college. We need to do so much better.
Well, let me ask you, you brought up Common Core. What is your thought on the overall concept of Common Core?
Well, look, Common Core has some high standards, and that's good. We need high standards in the classroom. But the implementation of Common Core, the frustration of Common Core, the lack of preparedness with educators, schools, even parents at home, this was not done properly. And once again, this is one of those big government programs passed down to say this is what you're doing. A one-size-fits-all educational system, I believe, does not work. And I'm only going by experience. I have 3 children. Now, they all graduated high school, but all 3 of my children had different abilities of learning. One was more advanced than another, and one, just found it very natural to learn and excelled. So how do you, in a Common Core curriculum, we are kind of pigeonholing or just one size fits all. What about children with educational disabilities? I had a child who needed more extra curriculum and that help, hands-on. And not just, the educator is just kind of pigeonholed and limited to the ability with the Common Core curriculum. So we need to modify it. We need to bring some adjustments that are going to really bring higher quality, with high standards to the classrooms that will allow more local input from our educators, our school teachers, and most important, parents. Parents need to be involved in the classroom and encourage the student today.
That's going to be an interesting mix to try and create.
It is, yes.
Okay. You mentioned gap elimination adjustment. When even today, Schenectady, as I'm sure you know, only gets 54% of the money, that state aid that it's entitled to. Yes. There are other districts that get more. There's a district down on Long Island getting 110%. How do you make that equitable, and what do you see as your role in doing that?
I'll tell you, what we have in the state of New York, especially in the legislature, is we have a large number of downstate representatives. Mm-hmm. Why? Because, well, the population, right? But it shouldn't be. We are all New Yorkers. We're supposed to be one New York, not a New York that is divided into these sections or geographic regions. And when you have all leadership right now coming of Albany, all leaders, all 5 members of leadership in Albany, they all live within 25 miles of New York City or live in New York City. You see these inequities. When there was one party rule, when the Democrats ruled all of Albany, the Senate, the Assembly, as well as the governorship, 2009 to 10, we then saw more of these inequities, particularly here in upstate, in rural schools, and in suburban schools. We're not getting our fair share. The taxpayers, the property owners have to pay more than what they do down in parts of New York City. And it's completely not fair. As a senator, the 46th Senate District, I will fight very hard to bring taxpayer protection and to bring about and to eliminate these inequities. We need to eliminate the gap elimination adjustment. We need to fund our schools, the upstate schools, much more than they're being funded now. And unfortunately, right now, we have a legislature that continues to kick the can down the road. They have not made the strides that they should in funding education. They just want to pat themselves on the back and kind of tickle the taxpayers and mail out those glossy photos of taxpayer-funded mailers and saying, look what I did. We increased education aid. By how much? We are still lacking in the 46th Senate District tens of millions of dollars because of the gap elimination adjustment. And we need a senator who's going to fight hard to totally not trickle the funding, but fill that gap and void so that we can bring relief to the property owner and that we can also bring the resources to the classroom.
Speaking of bringing relief to the property owner, we have this issue of mandates. Governor Cuomo has said the state's very good at telling local governments what they need to do without providing the money to do it. When you look at the mandates that exist, you have Medicaid, a $7 billion program. The average property tax in the area, a huge amount of that, not quite half, but a large amount goes to Medicaid, and another 30% will go to the other mandated programs, and that's before one cop gets paid or one hunk of garbage gets picked up. How do you deal with that?
Well, you know, we need a senator who's going to fight hard and stand up and make the right decisions and not be afraid of the pressure of the special interest. And, you know, I served in the legislature and the assembly for about 6 years. And I worked very hard to doing what is right, not basing appeasement and decisions on appeasement or just opinions, but on true convictions. New York, upstate New York, is plagued with high property taxes. It is crushing our economy. It is crushing the ability for a really robust, healthy job market. And what we need is we need to bring back, we need the state government to say, okay, look, we're going to stop kicking the can down the road. We're going to fund. Pick up the portion of the county's portion of the Medicaid. Mm-hmm. Schenectady County, for instance, over $34 million going to Medicaid. And their portion, property taxes, that's about I think about $1,000 a recipient. Okay? That's pretty high. That's very high. As a senator, I'm going to fight hard to make sure that we have the state picking up that county's portion because we need property tax relief. And we can't afford to keep, these unfunded mandates. The governor says he wants to bring unfunded mandates, and he wants to start funding these programs, then I want to see him start to do it. Not just give us political rhetoric or campaign promises, but I want to see true unfunded mandate relief that will reduce our property tax burden.
You say you want the governor to start bringing those programs. How do you, as a legislator, pressure the governor to do that?
By working in a bipartisan fashion across the aisle and working together to get things done. And these little kind of clubs or partisan bickering sessions that they have there, based on politics and their own gain. Oh, you know, you're not doing this so that I can campaign against you. All of this stuff has got to stop and end. We New Yorkers can't afford to live in New York any longer. It's too expensive for our seniors, our veterans, a first-time family just coming together, someone coming out of college, loaded with college debt, and trying and struggling to find a job. Meanwhile, they want to stay in the area that they once grew up in, but there's a lack of jobs, there's high taxes, there's high cost of living, not just the high taxes, but the high cost of living in upstate New York. So they go elsewhere. They go to a less expensive state, or they go to a place where there's more jobs being offered. And where are those right now? New York City. And why? We need strong representation here in upstate New York. And as the senator of the 46th Senate District, I know what it's going to take to get that done, to work in a bipartisan fashion, to bring that property tax relief, unfunded mandate relief to the table.
Okay. One final question. We've got a couple of minutes for you to answer that. As a member of the business community of Schenectady County, why should I give you my vote?
Oh, Jack, look, I've been a business owner for over 25, 26 years now, second generation owner of a small business. I employ 26 people. I totally understand, and as a candidate running for state office, I totally understand what every single business owner and employee feels, what we go through. I understand how to sign the front of the check and also feel the pain of all those deductions that are coming out of the check, okay? As a senator of the 46th Senate District, I will help and be an advocate for strong economic development. Not one that's just these gimmicks and plans of we'll give a 10-year tax abatement, but create an environment for all New Yorkers to work in a more affordable state, less regulations, less taxation, more job creation, and a better trained workforce for the employers. And I will do that because I have the experience in doing that. I was elected as a legislator. I work in the private sector. Together, public-private partnerships, bringing forth the right ideas, we can get New York back on the right track. And I got faith in the future of New York. We just need to get the public's faith back in this government.
All right. Thank you very much, George Amedore, for taking the time to join me today and to share your thoughts and ideas on issues facing us in Schenectady and in the Capital Region. To see interviews with candidates for New York State's 46th and 49th Senate District, 110th, 111th, and 112th State Assembly Districts, and New York's 20th Congressional District, please visit www.schenectadychamber.org. And please remember to vote on Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th.